Welcome back to our new series celebrating the full release of Captain of Industry. We're playing on a very cool looking map, Insula Mortis, also a big map with a lot of challenges. Follow this series to learn how to master the game or just enjoy this fun ride. Let's dive in. In the last episode, we completely revamped our bus and all of the production that were next to it. Now they're all robotics level 1 and robotics level 2, but we've also expanded, right? We have now the computers over here. We have full research lab, 3 research lab. We have all of the microchips. So everything is happening over here. We had also improved our productions here by adding all of the glass and by adding all of the poly directly into this. But today we're gonna do even bigger changes. You don't believe me? Let me show you where we got to. And here is the skull. It has changed so much, right? We are digging over here, we are digging there, but more importantly, you may realize the city has grown. We have now 3 blocks instead of 2. So I've added a 3rd block over here. We also have something new over here, right? Then instead of 2, we have 3 ships over here. Then that seems new. That's also new. And where is our waste sorting facility or recycling? It's not over here anymore. Oh yes, it just moved there. And what is this gigantic belt here? Okay, so many changes to dive into. And maybe let's actually start over here, because that was actually the first change I've made. We moved from 1 nuclear reactor level 1 to 2. You may remember in the last episode we only had 100 megawatts and it wasn't enough. And actually, spoiler alert, even 2 is not enough. So that's why now we're moving even higher. But yeah, we had 2, so this wasn't a big change again, this was already pre-built. I just actually built it, used a bit of Unity to build it, but otherwise everything was already ready over here. We already had the water production, we were already making over here enough of the yellow cake that was needed to make the enriched uranium, which was needed for the uranium rod. So this wasn't a problem. This was already ready. I did make a big change there, which is we used to have a gold production. Our gold production is gone now. But before I show you where, there's a number of belts there. So let me explain to you what's happening. Well, first of all, this is our depleted uranium. Now we're sending it very far away. This is actually a belt that is so long, I got a warning saying, belt too long, you need to cut it in half. So we actually have over here a U-shaped balancer, which is doing nothing, just in and out, because it was too long. Then we also have this belt there. This belt was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made. The goal of this belt was to move all of my spent fuel that I started to create in all of those reserves, send it into where we're going to transform into something, which is completely at the other part of the map. To transform it into something useful, into reprocessed uranium, plutonium, and fission products. But what I forgot is that there's radiation coming with this. So basically, when I started to send it on, across the map on this, it started to create radiation all over here. And even if my population is living all the way over there, the reality, and I think that's right, is, all of my people, they work in the trucks and they work into the factories, etc. So they basically got all sick. I was losing like 500 people per month. I went from more than 5,500 to something like 2,000 in just a couple of months. I wasn't paying attention and got super low. So obviously, as soon as I saw it, I cut this belt over here, so it stopped, right? But yeah, the damage was a bit done. So then it took me a while to go back up. And last but not least, over here, you can see there is a belt. This will be for one of the other contracts in the future. We can have also another one there. We'll talk about this later. First, let's go back over here for me to show you where the gold is. Because I told you, we moved the gold production. Now the gold production is over here. So first of all, we have the gold scrap that is arriving over here. This is coming all the way from the recycling center. Then next to it, we have the gold ore. Then the gold ore is going to go over here into this crusher to be transformed into gold ore crushed. And then into those two, because this is only 72 versus this one was 144, to be transformed into gold ore powder. Right? And the gold ore powder goes into this reserve and will be transformed into this settling tank with a bit of acid into gold ore concentrate and toxic slurry. We need the toxic slurry, which is why, we have the wastewater treatment just next to it. You can see it over here. This will take a bit of filter media that is over here. And we'll take also a bit of brine, which comes from this belt all the way from where we're making it, right over here. As I said, it will require also a bit of acid. We can follow it. The acid comes all the way over here, because remember, we were already bringing the acid for all of those productions. So I just extended that pipe to go all the way over here. So this is creating the gold ore concentrate, which goes onto this belt, into the balancer. But the balancer is actually not taking this as a priority. The priority is my gold ore scrap, if we have any. And then it goes, into the furnace. First the scrap, as I said, and second the gold ore concentrate. This will create the gold, which goes onto this belt over here, and a bit of exhaust. The exhaust goes into this pipe to join, this main one that we already had before, that goes into the scrubbers over here. So that's what's happening over here. This is my new gold production that goes directly into the bus. This is this one over here. There's not a lot right now because I've paused everything. The reason I paused everything is because, as you can see, we have again a problem with electricity, even if we had, the second nuclear facility. And that's why I made also another one over here. I'll talk to you about it in a second. First, let's follow the gold. As you can see, the gold goes over here. There's a reserve, and then goes directly into the unit storage. So now we don't need trucks for the gold either. And you may have realized the other thing is we used to have our concrete over here coming from truck. This is now also belted. The old concrete production that used to be there has disappeared. And instead, this is now belted directly into, the input bus, right? Coming over here. We're using now also the concrete mixer level 3. So each of them is 48 concrete slab. That may seem huge, but actually, remember I have 4 of these over here and each of them is taking 48. So this is actually exactly what I need if I put everything on, right? This will be taking a bit of sand, a bit of cement, slag crush and water. The water is similar to the acid that was coming over here. This is one of these pipe over here that was already there, I just extended it. Then similarly the sand, that was a pipe over here, I just extended it. The cement will be coming from those rotary clean gas. We're gonna use the hydrogen that we were already making over here. We were already sending this hydrogen anyway over here and all the way over there for my silicon reactor. Again, I just expanded it this way to go to the rotary clean. This will create the cement and a bit of carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is going onto this pipe. That's actually a new pipe going all the way here for my 2 chemical plants to make some graphite. And there is, by the way, a smokestack large over here that is not prioritized, of course, just in case this gets completely full. Because you can see we do have good reserve of graphite, so it may get full at some point. The only thing we haven't talked about is the slag crush, right? This is this belt over here. If we follow it, it's coming just next door to the goal. This is coming from here, where we're transforming our slag into slag crush. This is going into those storage to make sure we have always some storage. But you may be wondering, where is the slag coming from? Well, we've been making tons of slag, right? We used to actually send the slag into a depot over here and then trucks taking it. Now instead, all of the slag that we're making over here, for example, right? The 18 slag, or even over here, 12 slag. Over there, 12 or 18 slag, sorry. Then all of these over here, 18, right? All of this slag is going into this one giant belt, level 3, so 450, goes into here. First, it will be prioritized to go into this, but if this is full, it will go into this one, and then we still again have some trucks to send it somewhere. So this is not fully sustainable yet. If we want to make it sustainable, we need to find a way to do something with the slag. I have a plan, don't worry, but I just haven't put this plan into action yet. So yeah, we have the concrete and the gold completely linked over here. Before we continue with the new nuclear facility over here, let's continue with the third contract, right? We used to have those 2 contracts. The first one, vehicle parts level 2 to quartz, and the second, vehicle parts level 2 to crude oil. Now we have third and final for vehicle parts level 3, and that's why they're all next to each other, right? There is one big belt all the way transporting all of these vehicle parts. This is vehicle parts to iron ore. So we're giving the vehicle parts and in exchange getting tons of iron ore. The iron ore will go, of course, into those depots here. And then there's a gigantic belt that goes all around into where we need it, which is over here. This is empty, but just because I've paused it, As soon as I put it on, it won't be a problem. I have tested it, it was working. So yes, we have started this new contract there. Next to contract I'm gonna start is the household appliances to copper ore. So this way we'll have iron and copper done, and then also servers to gold ore. This way we'll also be belting the gold ore over here, and we'll stop using trucks. Then let's continue to move this side. We have, as I said, a third city. So of course I had to drop quite a lot of stone into the sea to make this space. You know, this used to completely be the sea. So that took a bit of time, but yeah, now we have 8 more blocks, and that's how we move from below 4,000 people to more than 5,500. But we also have a new production over here. And it's actually not just a new production, we also have new farms. We have 2 new farms. This used to be a lot of stone. I did the trick where basically, you know, you put one control tower. We're going to first dig maybe 1 or 2 levels, you know, you dig just a bit, 1 or 2 levels, take out all of the stone, and then what you're gonna do is that you're gonna say in this corner there, you can only drop compost and dirt, nothing else, right? And you put it back to level 2, and they're going to drop only dirt, and now it is, you know, farmable. We can put some farms, so 2 new farms. What is happening over here? Well, basically what's happening is that those 4 farms over here, instead of going into this main belt, they're going to support this new piece over here. This will enable me also to delete all of this there, because this used to be making medical supply level 2, right? And by the way, this was taking, if I remember correctly, this was taking this greenhouse there, plus a bit of this one over here. So we'll be able to reconnect these ones to the main belt. But yeah, we used to be making medical supply level 2. Now we move to medical supply level 3 with all of this. So let me show you what's happening. As I said, we're using those 4. We have 2 of these over here that are making the poppy. Right? This is the poppy seed, the new one. And here we have 2 that are making the sugar cane. These are actually not linked. You can actually see the poppies at level 0 versus the sugar cane over here at level 1. So we have those 2 belts. The reason I'm not mixing them is because if one is full, I don't want it to block the other one. So we have, you know, the poppy goes into this one, the sugarcane goes into that one. Then I guess maybe the easiest is to start by the end. We want to make the medical supply level 3, right? And we're gonna try to make 48 per minute. I know it may seem a lot, but you know, remember my population has increased, so now I need 30. 24 per minute is not enough anymore. So that's why we're going for 48. 48, that means 48 medical supply level 2, 24 anesthetic, and 24 morphine. And for each of the production along the way, I've also put a small buffer to help. So we have over here, you know, the anesthetic, over here the morphine, and over here the medical supply level 2. So the anesthetic there, you know, this is ammonia, hydrogen fluoride, and steel. We have one settling tank taking rocks and acid to make the hydrogen fluoride and a bit of slag. So the slag is the output, goes there. So for now we need trucks. In the future, of course, we're gonna need to do something with this if we want to make it fully sustainable. Then similarly, we have the rocks for now just coming with trucks. So we're gonna need to do something with this. And then we have the acid. The acid is actually used in a few places, but you can follow. It goes there, then it goes here. And again, for now, this is just one of these storages. But of course, at the end, the idea is gonna be to belt all of this to the main bus. So this is how we're making the anesthetic. And next to it, we have the morphine. The morphine is gonna take the poppy. The poppy is over here, right? Goes at level 1 and goes down. Then we're gonna need a bit of acid. This is what we just saw over here, right? Goes down here. And then a bit of glass, right? The glass is this belt coming over here. Then we're gonna need medical supply level 2. Already showed you last time, so quick recap. This is medical supply level 1, which is coming just next door, right? This is very easy, very compact, and also a bit of antibiotics. The antibiotics are coming over here from those 4. We need 4 of these because this is only 6, and remember we need 24. So that's why we have 4 of those fermentation tank, taking sugar, ammonia, and oxygen. The sugar is easy, right? That's the food processor transforming the sugar cane, plus a bit of water. Did I forget to connect this one? Oh yeah, I forgot to connect this one. That's why the production wasn't working perfectly. Okay, that's fixed now. So we have the water to make the sugar and the biomass. The biomass is just gonna be burnt. It's so small, you know, I don't think it's very important. And the sugar cane, as we said, just come from here. It does require, you know, a couple of other things. The oxygen is coming from the air separator and also from this electrolyzer. And that's why we have, you know, this pipe balancer with the priority, to send the oxygen, but if this is full, we can also send the oxygen, into the atmosphere. And then last but not least, we need the ammonia. We need ammonia over here, but we also need an ammonia there, right? 6, which is why we have, this chemical plant level 2 to make 12. 12 will be enough. This will require nitrogen. Nitrogen again comes from the air separator. We have, the pi balancer to make sure it never gets full. And it requires also the hydrogen we just saw over here, right? Making 12, so that's perfect. This will only require water, and we already need water anyway for this. We also need water, of course, for all of our farms. So that was obviously the easiest one. This is just this one over here. And so the only thing left is how to make the medical supply level 1. This is medical equipment and disinfectant, 24 and 24. So we have 2 of these assembly robotic to make 12 equipment, medical equipment each. This is plastic and steel. We already needed the steel over here, right? So that was an easy one. We're taking the steel, this is this pipe there. And then the plastic is the one at level 0. And the plastic is also needed for the chemical plant. So again, this is really efficient in terms of space because we're using the same inputs plus a bit of ethanol. The ethanol is actually coming from this fermentation tank that is taking the sugar plus oxygen. So another reason why we're making oxygen over here and another reason why we're making sugar. And that's why we also have 2 of those food processors. So yes, with this, basically, as long as you have electricity, you will be able to produce 48. There is nothing that's limiting, we'll be able to produce 48 on medical supply level 3. So really cool. As I said, I just need a bit more electricity for this to really start fully. And then we'll be able, to stop giving the medical supply level 2, transform into medical supply level 3, because this will give a lot more of everything. The unity jumps from 0.8 to 1.2. The health bonus from 20 to 25. And the mortality reduction anytime we have problem like the flu disease or something like this, move from 1% to 1.4%. So really useful. So yes, more population, medical supply level 3, more farms, so many more things actually. It keeps growing and growing. And that's why I need more electricity. I could have built the exact same nuclear facility, of course, but that would be boring. We have unlocked nuclear reactor level 2, so let's actually use it. The other reason why I want to use it is because to be able to research the fast breeder reactor, which is obviously amazing. I mean, it's even further than the rocket assembly, right? In the tech tree, you need to have actually produced 60 of this resource. And this resource is a spent MOX. And the MOX is only produced in this nuclear reactor level 2. So that's why I built, reactor level 2 over here. But to be honest, this is a bit of a quick and dirty. Don't get me wrong, it works fully, and as with everything I do, I will put on my Discord community, this blueprint, but you could do a lot better. And in particular, this is not an upgradable version of the old one or something like this. This is a bit more kind of a quick and dirty one I made so that we can unlock the last one, and then we can use the last one, to make a perfect nuclear facility. So what is happening over here? Well, first of all, as I told you earlier, I made this big mistake of sending all of the spent fuel this way, and it created a lot of radioactivity. We're also sending all of the depleted uranium, because this is what's needed for the nuclear reprocessing plant. You may remember I mentioned it in the previous episode, it requires molten glass. So you probably want to put it close to your glass making facility. A bit of acid, that's easy, you also need acid for all of these things anyway, and the spent fuel. This will create 3 things. This will create the reprocessed uranium, the plutonium, and the fission product. And obviously these are the 3 outputs you can see over here. The first I want to show you is the fission product. This is an output that is radioactive. It's actually even more radioactive. It moved from 2 to 4. So just be very careful. And you need to put it into a waste storage, right? Not into... It doesn't go into one unit storage like this. It has to go over here into something like this. But the great thing with this one is after 100 years, so you can see I started to do it 8 years ago. After 100 years, this will be transformed into retired waste. And this retired waste, so first of all, as I said, this is not radioactive anymore. So it's not a problem. If you just want to store it into a big unit storage like this, you can. But more importantly, you can transform it. You can put it into a shredder to make some recyclables, right? So you can completely destroy it and not have to deal with it. So that is great. That's very important. Obviously, it is 100 years, right? So you may need to have multiple of this, but that's a good one. The second is the plutonium. The plutonium is actually what we want. This plutonium goes over here into a chemical plant. We add a bit of depleted uranium, right? The big reserve we've been sending to make the MOX rod. This is what's gonna be used by this new reactor. We're making now the MOX rod instead of the normal ones. And last but not least, as I said, we're also gonna make some reprocessed uranium. This one can go into a unit storage like this. This is not a problem. And what you can do with this reprocessed uranium is you send it back to your enrichment plant. At level 1, we used to take the yellow cake and a bit of hydrogen fluoride to make this enriched uranium, right? Now you can use a bit of this reproduced uranium and again a bit of this hydrogen fluoride to make the same enriched uranium. So usually what you'll probably want to do is do something like this. This is a bit like the equivalent of your scraps, right, from the recyclable. You probably want to make sure that you use this first, and then it's just if you don't have any of this left, then you're gonna use new uranium to make yellow cake, right? But there's no reason to not use this one if you can. This is really good, to decrease the amount of uranium that you actually need to run your facilities, because you're basically creating some from scratch. But yeah, the main thing, as I said, is now we have some MOX rod that we can send into this nuclear reactor level 2. It is worth noting that actually in this nuclear reactor level 2, you can also use the normal uranium rod if you want. So that's also why I said this is not really an optimized thing. This is more kind of a quick and dirty one, because I'm just focusing on MOX rod while I could have done everything. This will be very similar in terms of the operation. You take some water and the rod. This will create some steam, and this will create, radioactive output. Instead of spent fuel, now it is spent MOX. This is this one over here, gonna be sent, into this reserve. And of course, we want to get at least 60 to be able to do the new research. On the other side, and then on this side, this is, and then on this side, we have the classic, water input, water to be able to cool, and then on that side, the output of steam and the output of steam depleted if we need to cool down the reactor. Then it goes into those high pressure turbine, low pressure turbine, a bit of power generation. What is worth noting though is that with this nuclear reactor level 2, you can now move to 4x. In the past, we were limiting to 3, so that was 288 and that was 1.5. Now you can move to 4, so that's 384 and 2, which is why, also I have 2 of these, because that means I can then have 2 of these if I want. And so obviously that's why we have a 4th line of generators there. With this one, you also get the option to enable automatic regulation. We're not gonna do it in this episode, I'll show you in a future episode, but this is basically a way for you so that in some scenarios, not all, you have to be a bit careful, but in some scenarios for you to be able to not have your nuclear facility always running at full speed when your electricity production is going up and down, for example. Now in the last nuclear facility, what we had done is used a lot of those thermal desalinator with the steam depleted to basically have this being water positive, right? We were creating more water than what we're using. In this one, just to show you, I've done it a bit differently. Instead, in this one, we're using the large cooling towers. So we're transforming the steam depleting into water. Here we are losing a bit of water. As you can see, the 96 is only making 72. But what is great with this is no electricity, no maintenance, and only 4 people. But obviously, given that you're losing a bit of water, it requires a small top up of water, right? And that's what you can see over here. So we do have a few thermal desalinators, but you may remember over here we had like, I think it was 20, and this is 20 for 288 times 2. In this context over here, we're only going to have 4 for way more, right? Because now we're talking about 384 times 2. So this is why, again, this is a bit more kind of efficient in terms of people, electricity, etc. But it's not water positive. It is slightly positive with those 4. Another thing I have done is to make this self-sustainable so that I don't need to bring coal. I am just using the boiler electrics. I've started to use boiler electrics actually in a lot of places. I'll show you in a second. They do consume a lot of energy, But now, you know, with those nuclear facilities, we're making so much energy. I don't really care. And again, with this is less people. I don't need coal, those type of things. So I think this is a lot better. Don't hesitate to tell me if you have any questions. And again, in the next episode, when we unlock the final nuclear facility, we'll talk a lot more about the perfect nuclear facility. As I just said, you know, we're using boiler electrics in a few other places. Let me show you. For example, this used to use a lot of coal, right? We have, again, I think it's 20 of these thermal desalinators. So we used to use a lot of coal, and additionally also those boilers over here were creating a lot of exhaust. So we needed exhaust scrubbers, and this was creating, you know, other things like CO2 and sulfur. This, on the other hand, is perfectly clean. This is just taking water, we're making water, so it's perfect to make the steam. And by the way, I've also added a fourth data center, and all of them are full. Another place is over here. All of the water that I need, you know, for my food production, but also for my population. And remember that my population has increased, so now we need even more. This is almost 400 of water per minute, more than 300 of waste production, wastewater. So we really do need those 2 wastewater treatments over here. I actually even had to increase a bit my chlorine, because each of these is 16 chlorine, right? So that's 32. And over here, we used to have only one of these. So that was making 24. So obviously that's below 32. So I put a second one over here, and now we're good. But yeah, as I said, we used to also have boilers over here. So again, more coal, more exhaust, etc. Now we just have those 4 boiler electrics. So perfect. Just takes a lot of electricity. And I'm pretty sure I also put another boiler electric somewhere. I just can't remember where. Last but not least, we now control the map fully. Not only have we destroyed all of the parrots, there's no more red anywhere. The other thing is that I've also gotten reputation level 3 in all of the settlements. With this, I have unlocked all of the contracts. If you are only at reputation level 1, usually you can only do the first 2 contracts, level 2 the next 2, and you need level 3 to be able to do the more advanced. For example, this one, the servers to gold, I needed the level 3. Right? So this is great. So yeah, now we have access to all of those contracts over here. I just need to start using them. To start using them though, we're gonna need a few more ships, because we only have 4, remember. But don't worry, this is not that hard. You can get as many ships as you want over here. This settlement there, as long as you have 600 blue parts and 20 of Unity, you can get a new ship. I'm a bit low right now on Unity. I'm actually also a bit low on resources, and that was mainly because I was a bit low on electricity. Now that we have this new reactor, you know, I'm probably gonna build the whole thing, so we have tons of electricity. Then I can unpause everything, let it run for a few years. That should give me all of the resources needed. We should also be able with this to finish, you know, the last few research. We have unlocked, for example, over here, the superheated steam. We'll talk about it in the next episode. We are almost done unlocking the solar panel, so we only have the rocket assembly launch and the fast breeder reaction. So we're getting, of course, closer to the end of the series, but there's still a lot of important things. First, of course, we're gonna need to launch this rocket. But more importantly, as I said, I want to make this city completely self-sustainable, meaning you don't need to touch it and it will run perfectly, which means, for example, you cannot have any excavator digging something, because at some point they're gonna stop digging, right? There won't be a mountain. So you cannot have any excavators. And I'll also try to get to the point where we don't even have any trucks, you know, 0 trucks. Everything is belted. This will not be so easy, but I think we can get there. Don't hesitate to tell me in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests. And I hope to see you next time.